Hey everyone, welcome back to Adventures with Edna. I'm Chris, and today we're working on Edna again. We have a car show coming up in about 2.5 weeks. We are officially entered in the Project Horsepower car show, which is being put on by Operation Grow Spartanburg. And I believe I can't remember the exact category that we're entered in. We are either in the classic truck category or classic car category, which means that we're probably going to be competing against some fully restored vehicles. Now, even though I pretty much like Edna the way she is, I would like her to look a little more presentable when the competition comes around, especially under the hood, because opening the hood on Edna is not a great thing. So let's dive in and show you. So I believe someone in the comments recently said that Edna's wiring looks like a fire waiting for a place to happen. I can't really argue that point. It does look terrible, but it is not as bad as it seems. It's been quite a while since I did a Edna Gets Wired video. I've been planning on part 3 coming up for a long time and still haven't done it. So we're actually going to finish that in this video. It seems like it looks bad, but it's really not. It's mostly just things like all these wires that go over here to the battery. They're just not tidied up yet. I've got these ones that go into the firewall, also not tidied up. I have the original wiring harness still laying right here. The only thing it's actually still connected to is the parking lights up here and the turn signals. Everything else is pretty much new, and I wanted to be able to get this wiring harness out in one piece. I also have to run the wires, run new wires down below to the dimmer switch. But once I pull all that out and I get all this wrapped up and everything is properly in its little clips here, that's going to make a major difference. Now, one thing that I want to do while all of this is out is the firewall looks terrible. So we already repainted this in another video where we put the new cowl strip down. So one reason that hood had to come back off is it occurred to me that I need to paint the underside of the hood because just the rusty metal laying on here as it gets wet, it's already making that look terrible. So we want to get that cleaned up. We want to add a nice coat of paint. We're not going to paint the whole underside of the hood, just the part that's touching the lacing here. We're also going to go ahead and pull all these wires off the firewall. We're going to sand down, and then we are going to repaint it in the same body color that we used up here. And then we'll get the rest of the old wiring harness out and get the new wiring harness in. All right, so to clean some of that up, I've got braided wire loom, two different sizes to try to hide all that. I also got cloth electrical tape. Now, I realize this doesn't exactly look factory, but it's the closest I could get to make it look, you know, a little more correct than just the bare wires. Everything that was on there before was just the wires coated in electrical tape. So this should look a little nicer. I went ahead and took the hood off because since I just took it off 2 videos ago, I didn't figure you guys would want to watch me take it off again. So we've got that taken care of. Another thing we might try to do in this video, since we weren't able to fix that transmission last week, what we might do is pull the floor out of this and see if we can change the worm gear for the speedometer on the tail shaft to get the speedometer working again, because that would be nice. We still got to clean up, like these wires at the moment don't actually do anything, so they're just kind of hung up there, so we'll get rid of those. And then this looks terrible, kind of like the outside, but it's kind of the same deal where it's just the old wiring mixed with the new wiring, and we just got to put some loom on it to make it look a little better. We may even go ahead and clean up these hinges a little bit and get some paint on that as well. Maybe these two, because they look crusty. Stuff's falling off of them. So we have things to do. So we want it to look good as we can for the car show. So we're going to put some work in We'll probably even go ahead and put some more of the shine juice on the hood, because there's still a little bit on there, but it's not really much anymore, so we're going to recoat that. We're going to finally put the headliner back in. I really wanted to get that dent fixed, but I can't seem to find anybody to do it. So we're just going to go ahead and put the headliner back in so it's at least in for the car show. So we got plenty to do, so let's get started. Gas pedal. Okay, so you can see we removed all the wires from the firewall except the new ones. Batteries out, gas pedals out. So I think the only thing left to do is we need to take this fuel line loose and away from the firewall. We're going to take the oil filter out of there, get it away from the firewall, and then we'll be ready for cleanup and paint. This is the only wires still attached. I'm going to run new wires tomorrow. Everything else that's coming out of the firewall here is all the new wires. So the only ones that are still connected are the two wires that go to the electronic ignition and the coil. These wires over here are the horn and the headlights. So we're gonna get that out from here. Because both of those can just come over here now. We cleaned off the carburetor, we sprayed it down. All of these apparently leak from what I hear, so every so often I get in here with some carb cleaner and clean it. But other than that, it runs fine. It's mostly just like it vapes out and gets dirty. Blew off the fuel pump, so that's a little better. So we're pretty much ready to clean up the firewall itself and paint. And then it'll all nicely match that. Then we can put the wires on with the new looms and everything, and it will all look a little better. So we'll see you tomorrow. All right, so I took off a little more than I had initially planned to. I took off the hood springs, and they look terrible, so we're gonna go ahead and repaint those in black. I took off the gas pedal, also gonna repaint that in black, but they need to be cleaned up first. Hit them with a little bit of carb cleaner. My brother suggested sandblasting these, but we don't have the time or the money. But he's right. A little bit of primer. A little bit of satin black, they'll be ready to go. Alright, we'll just leave those to dry. Alright, now back to the firewall. We're basically just going to do a light sanding over most of it. Okay, so I didn't figure you guys would be too interested in the taping. So I threw an old sheet over here, got out some blue tape, masked off several things. I'm going to have to play around with it a little bit over there because of the wiring harnesses that are still coming out of the firewall. So I'll have to move some of that around a little bit. But other than that, everything's cleaned up and we're ready to paint. You guys probably didn't notice I was ambidextrous. All right, I guess we'll let that dry for a few hours and come back and start taking the tape off. All right, so this is what I was talking about under the hood. This is where it touches the cowl strip, the cowl lacing. So I want to clean that up, get that painted so it's not just rusty metal sitting on top of that. That way it's got a nice clean finish on it. The rest of the hood could easily use some repainting too, but it's a bigger project than we're taking on today. Well, I paused the video while I went and got my wire brush. I hit the whole thing with this, and then I hit it with some carb cleaner. And it turns out I never restarted the camera, so you guys missed the sanding. Well, now that we've got that done and we just have to wait for it to dry, we might as well do the big reveal. So that's how that turned out. There are so many holes in this firewall. Yeah, I think that looks a lot better. Now, once we can start doing reassembly stuff, start getting the looms on all these different harnesses, get the battery back in, start hooking stuff back up, and we'll be ready for a hood. So there was a problem with the microphone here. The battery had gone dead, and it took me, I didn't realize until I was editing that that it wasn't on. So anyway, basically I'm explaining here that I have plugs, rubber plugs, like a whole kit of rubber plugs to go in these holes right here, and I can't find it anywhere. So I was going to put all new plugs in the holes just so they're not just open and heat and engine fumes and stuff coming in aren't just going into the cab. So this whole little section right here. And then I basically explained that we're going to start putting a few things back on right here. So I'm going to grab the choke cable and reattach that and do a couple other things, and then I'm pretty much done for the day before I start on day 3 of this. Okay, so we're on to day 3 now. We're basically putting everything back together at this point, so hopefully it should start going a little quicker now. I'm waiting on my brother to get here. He's going to help me put the hood back on. And then, so in the meantime, I'm going to work on some of this wiring. The only part of the wiring that's not really done is a little bit of the lighting. This is broken, and I'm trying to find something that's an actual replacement. But these 2 wires right here go to the dimmer switch, black wire and a white wire. So I just need to get a new black wire run and a new white wire run, and those go directly to the dimmer switch, and then there's 2 other wires that go up into the cab. So the wires on here. Here. I don't like that this doesn't actually mount to anything, but it's factory. Supposedly. Now that wire is just going to travel along here, go under these clips here, and then down towards the dimmer switch, along with the other wire. Go ahead and get our yellow wire run while we're at it, which is the white wire. I don't have white, so going yellow. Should be confusing to anybody in the future. This is my temporary connection. I suppose you could probably just eliminate this whole block and just put in actual connectors. So maybe I'll look into doing that. We're going to temporarily run all of this over here. We'll give ourselves a little bit of slack. And down to where the switch goes, and then we'll cut that loose. And that should be enough. We'll cut both of these off. We'll add a connector to each, and then we'll move them over to the dimmer switch. Black to black. Doesn't want to start. There's actually going to be another wire going on here because that's the high beam wire. So we have to have a wire that goes from the high beam up to the bulb on the dash. So that's not the end of that. This big yellow wire here goes directly to the switch. Alright, so this black wire here goes up to the headlights. This yellow wire here also goes up to the headlights. And then this wire here goes directly to the switch on the dash to turn the headlights on. So we're going to get another wire to run that. Alright, let's see if I can put this thing back in by myself. Let's see, the switch is, the hole for it is somewhere over there. This may not work very well. Maybe if I pull tight on these a little bit. I just need to be able to run into the truck to grab the switch without falling out, which it doesn't look like it wants to do that. Alright, that wasn't so bad. Alright, so we got our cloth electrical tape here. We're going to try to get some of this kind of in bunches now. Eventually we're going to put the cloth, or we're going to put the wire loom on eventually, but for the moment we're just going to put the electrical tape on. Alright, now we'll stick all that back into here for the time being. So that can all look a little neater. I think these wires need to be shortened. They go to the alternator, but they're a little long. Okay, so we're 4 days into this adventure now. First off, I'd just like to say that I hope the audio quality is good in this video. My connector for my little Bluetooth microphone is not making connection. So I'm going to have to get that fixed. I don't know what's the matter with it. If they can't fix it, I'm going to have to just replace it with a new one. But anyway, so where we left off, my brother came by. He helped me get the hood back on. He was too cool for my channel, so we didn't get to film any of that. But anyway, we're back on the wire. I got to get this video out for tomorrow, so you guys can have your normal Monday video. So we're not going to get as far into this as I wanted to. We are going to finish up the wiring under the hood here. We're going to put the headliner back in, and then I think we're going to call that a video. I've still got plenty more to do to prep before the car show, but this definitely gave you guys a little bit of an insight into what was going on. It's much darker in here now. Now that the hood's back on, I feel like there's so much less space. Anyway, you can see that I got some of the wiring back in. Now we got to put the wire looms on some of it. So that should be fairly basic as far as the rest of this goes. So we're gonna get that going. I definitely think it looks much better. I've actually already edited the video that I have so far, everything leading up to this point, and it's just kind of a massive transformation for how it looks now versus what it looked like a few days ago. So it looks so much cleaner, and I'm really excited about all the new wires getting covered up, and finally getting that ugly old wiring harness out of here. Okay, so we are finally getting into the wire loom. So we're going to take and measure this over to here. And by measure, I mean just go ahead and cut it. We don't want this fraying. Had to run inside and get some scissors. So I'm going to melt these ends a little bit, just to there. Some of this wiring loom is too small, some of it's too big. This one's kind of too big. I saw this really neat trick on DeBoss Garage where they used a wrench and went up one side, and it looked really neat, but I can't really do it because that side's already connected. They were kind of doing it with like a fresh wire. It's a tangle. Look at that, getting pretty already. Now these wires here, these go to, two of these go to the one to each temperature gauge, and the other two go to the coil and the electronic ignition. So those are going to come down here and wrap down towards the front of the engine. So we're going to use the smaller loom on that. This one seems like it's going to hold 4 wires without any issue. Alright, we're going to use some of our cloth tape. Try to tighten this up. That a little bit tighter. Let's see, we got a temperature gauge wire going down here, so we got to get a connector on that. Alright, you guys may remember, if you were paying attention in the beginning of the video, but the temperature gauge wires were red, and they were coming out through this hole, and we tucked them back in there, and it turns out to route them out this hole, back over here, and back down to where they went, they were too short. So we had to redo them, and black was the best option. The other temperature gauge wire attached.
Happy Mother's Day. Not you, Chris.
Trying to move along quickly here. It's starting to rain on me a little bit. It's supposed to be thunderstorms this afternoon. to get a little bit more lighting. It's getting hard to see out here. Dark. Alright, so these two. Well, I definitely say that looks a little better than it did when we started. I just got to clean up these 3 wires right here. Everything else is all nice and taped, and then the looms. These look a little better when they're back on the battery. When I put the battery back in here, and yeah, so I feel pretty happy with it. Unfortunately, we are not going to make it to the headliner because it's starting to rain pretty good out here, and I don't feel like bringing a nice headliner out here and trying to get it in the rain. Plus, I'm pretty much out of time, as I want to get this video out to you guys tomorrow. Let me know what you guys thought. How'd you think that the whole job overall turned out? I'll throw in a couple of pictures just so you can see the before and after, even though it's all in the video. If you want to see more videos like this one with me doing some work on the truck, if you want to see the rest of me getting the headliner in and putting the dash back in, there's still a little bit more to do in here. I have 3 more wires to do for the original wiring harness to come completely out, and then this will all be out in one piece. This is just a bag. And then we're going to be done. Except for the headliner. And maybe some other stuff. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one.